NASCAR heads to two racetracks this weekend, which I believe is the first time for the top three series this year that they are at different tracks. I might be mistaken. I have a pretty bad memory when it comes to NASCAR lately. But you've got the Cup and Xfinity Series at Atlanta Superspeedway. Well, I guess it's Echo Park Speedway now, but it'll always be Atlanta in my heart. And then you have Trucks and ARCA are running Lime Rock Park, and there's actually, I saw practice results for Trucks. Jordan Taylor is running in the 7 for Spire, and he was top of the board in practice. Not sure if they did qualifying yet or not. And then Brett Cruz, who drives an ARCA, was second on the board. So an interesting pair at the top in practice over there. Then I saw a video of Kyle Sieg running his Q-Lap for Xfinity at Atlanta, and Ryan Sieg Racing has brought out the X-Pipes, which sound beautiful. I was showing a coworker the difference between that car, a Cup car now, and then a Cup car from 20 years ago. So that was pretty cool, and he could definitely tell, even though he doesn't really watch, he could tell the difference of sound. He said the new Cup car sounds kind of muffled. And he's correct, because I believe they put mufflers on these cars. But welcome, y'all, to episode 15 of Who's That Driver. I'm your host, Zach Rogers, and today we've got a pretty special guest, someone I've known for quite a few years. And I'm in the mood of WWE this weekend with Night of Champions tomorrow. So I'm going to try to do this the best I can. I'm joined by Vincenzo Fochesato. What's up, dude?
Greetings, Zach. Hello, Internet. I'm glad to be here, excited to be here. Nailed the intro, by the way, and the pronunciation.
I did a quick practice in the car before I got here, and I was like, yeah, I think that'll work. I wasn't sure which syllable, because you've got 3 in the first and 4 in the last, and I was like, which one do they carry again? And I was like, oh yeah, that's right, they carry kind of like the second and the third the most. So I practiced it really quickly in the car, so I knew I had it down. But yeah, man, how are you doing tonight?
Really well. It's Friday night. It's race weekend again. Shows you how out of the loop I am on NASCAR, despite how much I love it. I completely missed that Lime Rock was this weekend. That's really cool. I'm excited now.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure it'll be a fun race. It's a very small road course. I think it's the smallest road course on the schedule out of all top three, because it's only just under a mile and a half. They're running just a standard course that, we've run for years on NR 2003, with the exception of they're not running the bus stop. They're just pretty much going over the hill. And so funny thing is, I saw a video of trucks in practice, and they were going up that hill, and they were lifting the front tires a tiny bit off the ground. And I literally just thought of the Lime Rock 2013 tracks that NR Track Designs did. And I'm like, yeah, if I go on that track in a Cup car, I'm like, the whole car is coming off the ground. You have to like crack the throttle to not get completely airborne. So it's like kind of funny seeing the trucks are doing it in real life on the real track. So
Yeah, that's something else I didn't know. I was curious if they were going to use or bypass that chicane, but that's crazy. I wouldn't have even known that. Lime Rock is probably one of the most high-profile road courses that I haven't actually touched yet. There's no rhyme or reason for it, but I don't think I've driven that in an R yet, so I haven't even had the experience of it. That's really cool.
yeah, so Seth Cole has liked to use Lime Rock over the years. He used it a lot in offline, and then that transitioned to his online league. So I actually got to run it. The first time I ran it, I think, was in early 2018, Open Setup CTS, and we ran one of the old bus stop V4 versions, and that was a ton of fun. And then the next time I ran it, there's a dirt variant. I don't know if Seth was the one who threw
Huh.
dirt on it or had someone throw dirt on it, but someone threw dirt on Lime Rock, and man, that is a blast. Um, Funny enough, though, that track for keyboarders tends to strip gears like no tomorrow for whatever reason. So
Oh boy. boy.
I was running a race with Cody Lamas and trucks. I think it was late 2019 or sometime 2019. Might have been early 2020. I don't exactly remember, but I remember it was me and Cody Lamas in that race in trucks, and he stripped like almost a whole gearbox. So that was brutal for him.
Ugh.
But
Yeah,
and
I can
then
sympathize with that.
yeah, and then in Michael Norman's league, I actually happened to run the I ran Lime Rock again at the end of last year. So now my thing with Lime Rock is at first glance it's a short, easy, somewhat simple, easy course. You know, it's one of the tracks you get for free on iRacing. For one, they use
Uh-huh.
them in the Miatas a lot, but it might look easy, but there's no runoffs and it's just grass. So and some of the versions like Lime Rock Bus Top V4, in between the grass and the track, there's like a thin layer of sand on some of it. So you like hit that and that messes you all up.
It kind of drags you over.
Yeah, but so it's a fun track,
I see.
but there's honestly less passing zones there than Watkins Glen, and we barely have any at Watkins Glen to begin with.
Yeah, from what I know, its reputation is that of a bull ring's not the right word, but it's tight, it's straightforward, it's to the point, and it's compact, and it's just a lot of fun to roll around over the undulations. Like I said, I don't even have that experience, but it's a beloved track, and that's what I gather from everyone who has driven there.
Yeah, it's like you said. So the first half of the track is relatively flat, and then you get to this back half, and you go up the one big hill, coming off of a corner. You like it's kind of like a swooping corner, so like you slow down, you hit the brakes, you take the right hander, and you like swoop up, come off the corner, and then you have like a subtle hander. There's not much the elevation there, but then you go under a bridge, and then it's like a swoop, big drop down, hard, fast right hander onto the front stretch. So those are like the fun corners on the track. I think it'll be kind of like Canadian Tire in a way because Canadian Tire was
Oh,
very tight, right? Not a lot of passing zones. So I think it'll be like a mini version of that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see somebody get dumped in the last or second to last corner for maybe the win, but hopefully they do it in the second to last corner, not the last corner, because that last corner can be pretty fast going down the hill, and there might be some tire barriers out there to the left, but I wouldn't want anybody slamming into those at 100 miles an hour.
yeah, it might be the worst corner to have trouble on if you're going to have it anywhere. Oh, hopefully not anywhere, but if you were to, I could see that for sure.
Yes, indeed. Well, so as we are on the topic of motorsports, I got to ask, as I've asked every guest so far, Vincenzo, what got you into motorsports? Who was your first favorite driver? Who it is now, if it has changed? And your favorite form of motorsports? So, NASCAR, F1, motocross, Monster Jam, the like.
All right, gonna try and roll through those one at a time, and if I miss one, feel free to steer me back on course. My working memory is not great.
Of course, no
Um,
problem.
but anyway, that'd be my dad. He uh, watched NASCAR races. I don't even know when he got into it, but he grew up um, within earshot of the Norway Speedway in Norway, Michigan. The track was, I don't know, maybe 2,000 yards from his house. So he and his friends would go down there, climb some trees without buying tickets, and watch the races from there. He said that they had a pulley system that they would use for a picnic basket on the ground so that they could have snacks while they were watching. Um, but anyway, that's what got him into racing. And um, with NASCAR on TV when I was really little, um, I never really paid much attention to it myself. None of us, me and my siblings, did for some reason. But one day, February 2003, it was the Daytona 500. I was 5 years old, and Ryan Newman had one of his like 25 violent, nasty
Yeah.
super speedway wrecks.
Yeah, the crash
he
test
had
dummy.
he had so many of them, man. The poor guy. But anyway, as a 5-year-old child, I thought that was the coolest freaking thing I had ever seen in my entire life. So I sat down and watched Rockingham races the next week, wondering if I'd see more. And fortunately, I didn't. I was a little kid, but obviously now that I know better, we don't want to see crashes. Anyway, I watched the Rockingham races the next week. Didn't see anything violent like that, but just kept watching the races because at that point I was having fun. And yeah, got me in. Accidentally turned me into a NASCAR fan when I was halfway through kindergarten and kept watching ever since. I think the next question was who was my first favorite.
Yep.
Um, and at first I pulled for Newman because I thought his crash was just that cool. The kind of logic you'd expect from a 5-year-old.
Yeah. That was a good year for him too, though. That was a good year to root for Newman.
Yeah, real quick. I'm rewatching that whole season one by one, just in my spare time, very slowly. Um, I'm up to June, and yeah, he's won a multitude of races already.
All those
Um,
polls too.
right, Rocket Man. Um, but anyway, as a little kid, I kind of changed my favorite almost every week, and then I told myself I need to pick one. Whoever happens to be my favorite by the time my birthday arrives in June, I'll stick with that guy. And for no good reason, I happened to be liking Mark Martin at that point.
Okay.
So, um, ever since, been a massive, huge fan. And it's kind of funny because I feel like I would have gravitated towards him anyway, even if I was older and knew a little better, because he's just such a respectable, gentlemanly, clean, and talented racer who everyone enjoyed competing with and who was just a real pleasure to root for. So that's who I stuck with until he retired.
Did you have I know so Mark kind of retired once. He kind of went to part
Mhm.
time. Did you have
Yeah.
anybody in those? I think it was like 2 or 3 years where he was part time. Did you have any alternates that you would root for if he wasn't out there?
Not really. It was pretty simple in that regard. At least when I was a kid, I was still pretty little at the time he was part time. But no, I basically rooted for him on when he was on the track and kind of waited for him to come back when he wasn't. I think he only sat out about a third of the races each of those
Mm-hmm.
years, so he was still there most of the time, I guess.
Yeah, it's actually it's interesting because I've been looking at a lot more driver stats this year since I started running a mock season thing on NR. I started with
Hmm.
1972. I went 1972 is the first year of the modern era, as we call it,
Yeah,
and we have cup
yeah.
car sets all the way back to that year, like condensively. So
Hmm.
that was the year I started with, and so now I'm up to like 88 because I've mostly just been simming them and keeping track of stats because I love my stats. Um,
Heck yeah.
so I'm up to 88, but so I've been looking. I'll look at drivers from time to time, like what if like Mark Martin ends up being a champion if he ends up getting more wins, whatever. And so I was looking at his like part-time years, and I was like, huh, he actually ran a lot more races than I remember. I thought Almirola ran more in the eight than he did, and no, like Mark was
Hmm.
actually in that car quite a bit. As well as the '01, of course, and '07, and then he was right back into it in '09, and then he ran '09, and he did decent in 2010, and then I think 2011 was his last year, or no, 2011. Did he go to Michael Waltrip in 11, or was it 12?
That was 12.
12. Yeah, so then he ran
Yeah,
12, 13, and I think he ran for Tony. Tony he filled in for in 13, and then he was done.
yeah. Those were like his last 8-ish races. Was in Stewart's car.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was when Tony broke his leg, I think, doing sprint cars or
yeah,
something.
yeah. Indeed.
So when Mark retired, who did you pick?
Um, funny
Or do
that.
you not
Um,
have one? Have you not had one for 12 years? That'd be pretty
well,
crazy, but
the thing of it is, that's when I kind of 2013 was the last year I said that I picked it up right when 2003 started. Watched every race through the end of 2013 and then kind of stopped. From 14 onward, the combination of Martin going away, um, I was kind of annoyed with the playoffs and things of that nature, because 14 was the first year they were showing up, and I just thought it was a horrible concept and idea. And the fact that I had found other forms of racing in the few years leading up to that, that's when I stopped putting aside the time every weekend to follow NASCAR, um, all 36 races straight. So I've seen plenty of them since and still keep up with it, obviously, and still play, the stock car simulator. But
Hmm.
from 14 onward, I haven't watched it full time since. And I don't know, I guess I never really picked up any one specific since. Was the next question going to be who my favorite is now? Is that where I was working towards?
Yeah, so it'd be either so favorite driver now, which can be any motorsport. It doesn't have to be NASCAR. So like, as you're saying, so NASCAR you don't really watch. So what would you say your favorite form of motorsports is currently, if it's not NASCAR? And then who your favorite driver in that motorsport would be? I guess would be the question.
Gotcha. And for the record, by the way, I should clarify that a lot of it's to do with time. I said I didn't I didn't really watch anything other than NASCAR until 2010.
Okay.
And since I discovered that there are like a million other championships around the world, I obviously do not have time to keep up with every single one or anything
Yeah.
close to it. If I did watch all the NASCAR races, but now that my time is limited, I make it a point to watch every race for IndyCar and for Supercars. Uh,
Okay. Neat.
kind
That
of a
must be
kind of a
quite the
random.
challenge for supercars.
Well, luckily they make it really easy. If you give their YouTube channel $7 a month, you can watch every single second of on track action from all 3 days of every race weekend, year round, whenever you want.
Oh wow,
The
really?
t-
Just $7 a month to the YouTube channel?
yeah, and you get
Wow.
access to every second of on track action. Each day is like a 9-hour video from sunup to sundown of practice, qualifying, and racing for every single category at the track, which is in supercars is typically a lot of support categories too. So any given weekend, you might have upwards of 9, 10, 12 races. And I don't really have enough time to watch all of those either, but I make sure to at least get the big show, the supercars, in while I'm at it. So it costs money, but
Not a lot.
for what you get,
It's cheaper
yeah,
than flow racing.
for what you get out of it, it's a massive, massive return for $7. And if you care like I do, it's totally worth it. So those are the two things I keep up with. Favorite drivers now.
Any
I think
love
that
for
was the next
old
one.
SVG, perhaps?
Um, I guess not, and I don't mean that as in root against him. He just wasn't. Most drivers aren't your favorite driver, and I guess he just wasn't for no real reason. I like SVG. Everyone loves SVG. But yeah, as far as supercars goes, I really like rooting for Randall Kostecki and Deep Pasquale. Anton's been my favorite ever since he showed up.
Okay.
He's just a stand-up guy. I really like rooting for him, seeing him do well. Mm, I'm bouncing all over the place here.
IndyCar
Backtracking to that.
driver?
Right. Um, Alexander Rossi.
Oh, you know what's funny is I never really got into IndyCar until,
Hmm.
I was I happened to be watching the 100th Indy 500, and that was
Uh,
Rossi won as the rookie, and on fuel mileage, no less. And I was like, you know what? I like this dude. I'm gonna start rooting for this guy. And he was good for a few years, and then I stopped watching IndyCar, and I like went back and checked, and I'm like, he doesn't have a title yet. Crap.
yeah. No, it's funny you mentioned that. That was one of the best days of my life, and that was one of my favorite car races of my life. Was that exact one you just mentioned, the 100
Hmm.
500, and he won it. And ever since it took him like about a year and a half to really adjust to IndyCar and ovals, but once he found his footing, he was a force.
Yeah, he was a beast
And
for a couple of years there.
yeah. And I know he's had a pretty big wind drought ever since, but he hasn't really slowed down. It just hasn't come together for more wins yet. There have been a lot of podiums, a lot of top fives.
Hmm.
Just hasn't been to victory lane since I think 2019, with the exception of one of the Indy road races in 2022. That's the only one since, but he's still as fast as ever, so he might get one in the Carpenter car this year. I think he's like eighth or ninth in points. He's doing really well in that thing.
Right on, yeah. Yeah,
But yeah, he's my.
I kind of
Sorry,
like
but
kind of like Pato Award a little bit. I've been hoping that he can finally get himself a 500 here sooner or later. I mean, I think it was the last 2 years that he had a really good shot and something happened and he didn't get to win. And then this year he just kind of, I don't know if the hybrid car just kind of felt weird. I don't know if you feel the same or not. It felt like the hybrid was a little poor for Indy 500, despite
definitely,
all the chaos we got instead.
would definitely have thrown things off a bit with that extra rear weight compared to years past without changing anything else on the car. But I think he got another top five. I don't remember exactly where he finished.
Yeah,
Maybe it wasn't.
Pato. I think Pato got another top five, especially after the Ericsson DQ.
Yeah, yeah, that was really unfortunate. I was
Good thing you didn't win.
in turn. Yeah, because man, that would have hurt something fierce. I was in turn three for that race last month. It was. I've been to. I think that's number five. I think that's the fifth 500 I've been to,
Wow.
and that was my favorite one by far. It was such a good time and such a good show.
Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, I haven't even been. Only big race I've been to is one Richmond Cup race way back in 2018. Not that I haven't wanted to go, just that I'm like I look at the finances and I'm just like I don't know, like
It's expensive.
I'd rather just, and I don't want to wake up. Like, I could go to New Hampshire. Like, I know guys in my area, they go to New Hampshire every year. And it's like, yeah, but I just really don't want to wake up at 6 a.m. just to drive 3.5 hours up to Loudon so that I'm there by like 10:30, you know? Like, I'm good. Like, I'd want to go for the weekend, and going for the weekend costs more money. So, you know,
Yeah, it's I guess I haven't checked what cup prices yet are for most tracks typically, but
it's around
um,
$100 now, I think, for a ticket.
okay, yeah, yeah. It's funny. That's about the same it is for our 500 seats and for Detroit. Those are the two races I try to go to every year, which is awesome because they are 7 days apart. But yeah, it's something I try to save up for because it's always a great time. Those are a really fun pair of weeks for me.
Right on. Well, let's move on here since we're on a little bit of a time crunch for yourself. You got
Mhm.
Fuel Sportsman Series finale tonight at your home track, I guess, Michigan. So,
That's
um,
right.
I'll just do a little quick tidbit on Michigan. Michigan, in my opinion, is my favorite and best oval on NR 2003. I don't know what my
Mm,
number of wins is up to for Michigan, but I believe I'm over 10. I think it's Michigan, Homestead, and the Glen. I've got 10 plus wins across NR. So those are my three, the big three for me. And there's a couple creeping up there like Pocono and Richmond that I really enjoy driving to, but Michigan is like Cup, CTS. It don't matter. Like I enjoy the hell out of it and I can win on it in those physics types. So that's like probably my favorite track in the game is Michigan.
heck yeah. And one of mine too. And I've always felt a little weird because I don't think I can truthfully ever know how much I would like it if I didn't have all the bias of it being the backyard track because that obviously plays a lot into why I love the place so much. But uh, bias or not, I love racing there and I love lapping the place. And it's funny listening to you describe your experience there. It's kind of the same thing for me. It's my favorite intermediate. I get really excited every time I go there. And by a clear statistical margin, it's my best in our track too. It's the numbers are below yours. I think I've only raced you on that track once and I lost to you by a pretty wide margin. But
I think that might have been a strategy race. I don't exactly remember.
I don't think so. It was I think it was green for like it was a 50 lap race and it was green like the last 44. So,
Oh, yeah. I think I had
yeah.
somebody behind me, but I think you were racing for third or something with, I think it might have been Dunn and Keith. Am I remembering
Yeah,
correctly? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. The three of us kind of played chess with each other for the whole race while you kind of just skipped away into the distance.
Yeah. I don't remember who was behind me, to be honest. It's kind of kind of bad. I don't remember who was second to me. Probably I don't know if they really battled me too hard if I don't remember. So, I've been trying to keep a folder of like memorable race wins so that I can, you get to so many. I was actually talking to Keith Hughes Monday, and Keith, I guess Keith has been around a lot longer than I thought he has been, just because I haven't ran into him. But Keith
Mhm.
recently hit 500 wins on the game like a month or
Holy
two ago, and he
goodness.
was like, "Yeah, once you get to like 300, 400, you kind of just the races just kind of blend all together, and you forget what happened when." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm definitely already there. I'm at 263. I'm already there." So
Oh my goodness. I had no idea. I mean, you have almost as many wins as I have starts. And Keith has twice as many wins as I have
yeah,
starts, if that's the case.
yeah,
So yeah, don't blame anyone for not remembering fine details of any given day. That is okay.
yeah, exactly. Well, so let's get right into it. So the first question is very simple. It's how long you've been in the community, and then how you got into the community. Or into
um,
NR 2003, I should say, and that can be offline or online.
so I guess I found the game through YouTube when I was how old must I have been back then? Like uh, probably an 11-year-old kid. And after a few months, I was like, wait a second, and went in the basement, moved some stuff aside on all the old shelves that I uh, had never touched, and found a copy of NR 2003 just sitting there.
That's funny.
Because it hit me all at once that, wait a second, I have a memory of my dad bringing home an old computer game when I was 6 years old, and we tried to set it up and play it for like 40 minutes one day. And I had no memory beyond that. I'm pretty sure we just put it away and never touched it again. It sat on the shelf for 6 years. I think my dad bought me the game when it was brand new because he thought it was a NASCAR video game. I think he got surprised that it was a sim that I'm certain 6-year old me wouldn't have been able to figure out how to drive
which
properly.
is which is funny because there is an arcade mode. If you just toggle the switch on the single race menu, there's an arcade button there. No one uses it, to my knowledge, but there's an arcade button there.
Well, either way, yeah. Never actually played the thing until 6.5 years after he bought the thing for me. Um, just played it offline on my own. What really got me into it was Sign On, if
Mm-hmm.
that's a name that
Yep.
anyone recognizes.
Oh, I think a lot of
Yeah,
people know Sign On.
yeah, Cooper. He's been around for some time, and his offline project, the TM Master Cup Series, that and the world that they and the rest of their little group have built. Um, that's what hooked me because I found those videos of very uh, dramatic, suspenseful reviews of these little video game races. It just pulls you into this world. It's actually an alternate universe. It doesn't feel like a video game. It feels like a whole racing world that they've built, and it was just so thrilling to follow. And that's what really got me into it. I didn't talk to anyone until I joined the forums over there on a EFR and Cooper's website. I think that would have been 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all my NR experience was for a good long time. I first played the game in 2009, and I didn't start my first online race till 2016.
Okay. So let's talk about that. What did your first online league race look like? Do you remember the number, the mod, the track, how you did?
In addition to the Master Cup, EFR, Cooper, and everyone ran an offline league for a very long time. And that was my first start, was in season 17. They've been going for some time by that point. And Formula 5, it's sort of an IndyCar inspired league. It used a DW12 at the time, and it's kind of like kart IndyCar, just a whole lot wackier. There's some insane physics. There's absolutely no limit on what variety of racetracks we go to, and it was chaotic and a whole ball of fun. and that was my that's where my first race was. They were at Iowa that night.
Iowa with the this crazy kart EXE type thing.
Yep.
Oh boy,
Wish I remember what lap times were. I could check the replay, but I don't remember
probably
offhand.
probably in the 15s or so, 14s, 15s, probably hauling the mail. Do you remember the number at all?
uh, the car number?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that would be 37.
Okay, so it has the preferred number forever been 37.
Yep, since I was really little. I said 2003 is when I started watching NASCAR. Since way back then, ever since.
So why 37? Where was this? What's the story behind the 37 number?
Not much of a story. But the answer is Bruco.
Okay.
The old Bush Series team. They ran the 27 and the 37 cars while they were around in the late 90s through the mid 2000s. Um,
Yeah, they were a
that
force.
year, yeah, yeah, that year was David Green's first year driving the 37, uh, the Timberwolf Pontiac,
Yep.
and I said I'm halfway through rewatching the '03 season in my spare time. He's already won at Nashville so far. Anyway, as a little kid, that was my favorite race car for some reason. It wasn't even a cup car. It was a Bush car, and I was just in love with that livery. That's a Sam Bass livery. I don't know if that's common knowledge or not, but that Timberwolf livery was a Sam Bass creation. Despite blue and green not being either of my favorite colors, I was in love with the car and always have been, and I've just always copied its number.
Right on. And now, so you're still on keyboard, correct? You've been using keyboard forever.
Yes, sir. Since day one, haven't managed to touch a wheel since.
Okay, so my favorite thing to ask guys who run keyboard when they come on here is what is your keyboard setup? Because I've heard Cody Lamas's, I've heard DJ Curtis's, um, Michael Norman I think told me his, Seth Cole told me his, and they're all pretty different. DJ's was pretty unique, and I think Cody's I was trying to figure out how he got his fingers to freaking fit in the position. So let's hear what is Vincenzo Focasato's keyboard setup.
You mean the physical layout of the
Yes,
of
so
the?
I am going to put my hand on my keyboard and see if I can make it work.
Yeah, it's the keypad. This
Okay.
laptop has a full keyboard with keypad included off to the right as usual, I think. Um, but yeah, it's that keypad.
I need the keys. I need to know what's
Oh,
what cuz some
oh,
people some people don't do it how you think they might. Like my keypad, has the arrows on them too, so I always used 8462. But some people use different keys, so I want to know specifically what you got going on with the
I
numpad.
see. Yeah, I gotcha. My bad. That's 8456. Five is the break.
Okay.
And I guess zero's reverse, and the shift keys are the gear shift keys are way over on the other side. It's Q and W for my left hand.
Really
Yeah,
interesting.
if that's not unique, then I guess I've never bothered asking anyone else if what they do, but
So
I kind of just assumed that they'd use their left hand for the shifting.
when I did keyboard way back, I would use 8462.
Mhm.
I would use both hands. I'd have them hovering over the keypad together. And I
Mhm.
would use plus and minus to shift.
Oh, with the same hand.
Yeah, so I would have my like pointer and thumb for my right hand, and then my pointer and middle for my left hand, and then I would just kind of hover my middle finger for my right hand over plus and minus and shift as I needed to. And those
Wow,
were my keys. Yeah.
wow, that's impressive.
All together.
I don't think I could have done that if I tried, or could do that if I
I
tried.
was
That's impressive.
I was used to it because so there was old Need for Speed game, Need for Speed High Stakes, that I got for the PC, and
Hmm.
you could use the regular directional keys for that game. You couldn't use the numpad for that game. You had to use the regular
Hmm.
directional keys. So I used those, obviously, throttle, left, right, brake, and I would do the same thing with those because in high stakes it was actually more advantageous to just always keep your finger down on the throttle and then just push the brake down max and turn it through the corners. So I always had two hands hovering over the directional keys when I played that game. So that just kind of
Interesting.
migrated over to the Papyrus games, not just NR03, but NR02 and NR4, because at the time, I had an old Windows 98 computer, and
Hmm.
NR03 worked the worst out of the three, so I was mostly on NR4 or NR 2002.
Man, it's impressive what people can adapt to when there's no other choice. If that's your only option, then fine by me. Crack your knuckles, and we'll figure out how to make that work.
Right on. So when you started on keyboard, did you have anybody to give you tips? Did you have a mentor, perhaps?
um, Online, yeah, I guess I kind of did. That would be the man himself, the legendary Nick Baker.
All right, Nick Baker.
Yep, the standard for keyboard racing. He taught me everything I know. And all I've been trying to do the whole time I've been here is to just try and be as fast as he. Um, Studio speed is where I raced him for
I
Cosmin and
yeah,
Danko.
I believe that's where we first met, and I have no recollection of any on track racing with you there, just because I was there for such a brief time. But that was definitely, I
Mhm.
think, the first place we met, and then we later crossed paths again in Meloncar.
That sounds about right. I don't remember racing you either, but again, brief period if you were at studio speed for only that long. And there were a ton of
I
people
think
there.
I remember you because I remember you've run around about the same 37 paint scheme forever. So
Just about.
I wanna say I remember the scheme because we were running whatever mod we were running for Studio Speed at the time. Because there were two
Gotcha.
iterations too. There was two iterations of the APRS, and I was in the second iteration, which was like 2016, 2017.
Okay. I was in the 20 uh, um when it last took the name APRS back, that was 2019 is when I
Oh,
was
was
in.
it that late? Okay, it might have been then. I
Okay.
a
We
lot of
get
those early years, like I said, they all mesh together, and I can't really pinpoint certain things from like 2016 to 2019.
Yeah, exactly. They were at least 6 odd years ago anyway. It wasn't exactly recent. But yeah, Baker was winning races and on the keyboard, and he was generous enough to lend me very direct tips and advice and feedback, and I just tried to take as thorough of notes as I can and apply them. I think my I've never been a particularly, compared to the rest of any given starting field, I'm usually not a particularly strong driver, and that's okay. But I got noticeably faster in the months that I was using his advice and his feedback and racing against him all the while. So that was very helpful. Baker is kind of my keyboard hero. Just been trying to take his advice to heart ever since.
I remember Nick. Nick was a great guy to race with. I raced him a lot with the FTF guys and the New School Racing League.
Yeah,
That's where I
yeah,
mainly got to race against Nick.
yeah. Come to think of it, that actually might be that's definitely one of the first places that I remember you from. I was the NB Motorsports reserve driver for the year 2019.
Okay.
So I never showed up to many. I only made starts in 3 FTF seasons, and I think the grand total was like, I don't know, 12 or 13 races between them. But when he had an absence in 2019, I would drive the car. I drove one race in Bailey's car, Joey Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
One race in Rada's car and one race in yours.
Right on. Yeah.
the
My mic is not picking up here a little bit. That's weird. Anyway, but yeah, I think I don't remember what race you would have driven my car in, but I
Yeah,
was
you had to
either
set.
away or suspended for the rec score probably.
I think you were just away. Baker didn't let me know till, or didn't ask me until really late. But I was racing anyway, so I hopped in your '97 machine. That was at Watkins Glen.
Okay. Yeah, I was probably suspended or I was busy. I don't remember. 2019. Gosh, yeah, that was forever ago.
Yeah, I didn't do nearly as well as you would have, but 19th place is better than nothing. So I at least got a 19th out of it while I was there.
Yeah.
That race, it's funny. That exact race was one of the highest car counts I've ever had in an NR race. Not the number one, but it's kind of close. There were 41 entries for that show. We had a DNQ
Wow.
because only 40 were allowed to start.
Yeah, that's pretty good for Watkins Glen. I don't know if right now not many leagues get close to that except for Maverick and then Hobo. Hobo does pretty good with car counts. I've been broadcasting with Andrew Miller on Tuesday nights on his channel, Top Dragster. Hobo generally will bring in around 25 to 30 people pretty much every
Nice.
week. So,
Yeah.
and that's
That's
open setup, not fixed setup.
ooh, man, that's a healthy car count.
Oh yeah, yeah. They
That's
get
awesome.
they get pretty good. They're hard. It's hard to get in there because it's invite. Well, it's not really invite only, but you have to like apply and be accepted. And once they get to 40 drivers, they don't take anybody, even if a lot of those guys don't run a lot. Once he has his 40, Steve Rubino, he's got his 40, it's locked. And like if you want to race there, you can race there on Sundays or Thursdays. Sundays they run trucks, and Thursdays I forget what they run on Thursdays. If it's like Aero 88 or something, I don't quite
Mhm.
remember. But the Tuesday Cup Series is the night they run Open Setup Cup. So
Okay, very nice. Yeah, that's good to hear. Always love hearing that open setup racing's doing well.
so back to a little bit of keyboard settings, if you can recall or not.
Hmm.
Do you use any of the input momentums in the game?
Oh yeah, yeah, big time. um, the is it steering? I'm trying to remember.
I think steering
Steer.
and throttle, maybe brake a little bit.
Yeah, steering's usually pretty high. Throttle's usually very high. Brake's usually a lot lower, and then the assists are super track dependent, but it usually bounces between like 25 and 50 for steering assist.
Okay, right
Because
on.
I have no choice but to use these things, or
Oh
else
yeah,
the car wouldn't really drive itself.
yeah. It's really, really difficult. I forget what DJ said he used. DJ uses like I think around maybe the same range. I think he like you said, it's all track dependent when you're on keyboard. So
Hmm. Yeah, I've got a folder of presets that I used at various tracks over the years, so I can hopefully refer to them and not have to try and spend time figuring it out again. I'll just go look at what I did last time I was here and use it again.
right on. So now, what has kept you committed to the keyboard grind? Obviously, it costs money to get a wheel and pedals, even like a decent wheel, for something like NR. But so, what has kept you committed to the keyboard grind?
Um, Not much in the way of particularly good reasons. Mostly being uh, a dirty cheapskate, uh, possibly to a fault. But yeah, um, obviously that's what I used at first because that's all I had, and was a kid for most of the early years that I played the game. And by the time I got into online when I was 19, I was like, I don't, the keyboard was still working just fine. I know what to do. Why, you know, why drop any money on something that I haven't needed up to this point, even though it would probably honestly be a wise idea. I also moved a lot for a number of years. um, during the first years where I was doing online. So I didn't really want the pain of hauling those sets around everywhere I went. Could just open up the laptop and drive whenever I wanted to. I thought it was a lot more convenient.
Yeah.
So that's about it. Nothing nothing more complex than that. Nothing very complex at all. But I guess that's the answer.
Right on. No, I gotcha. I totally get it. It's easy if you got your laptop. You can just pack up laptop in a bag with a charger and your mouse, and away you go. And you can set up literally wherever you want. Kind of like almost like a handheld game device.
Yeah, slightly bigger one, but it's pretty much the same concept. Yeah, I've been able to run a handful of races from some far off places, so it's worked out really well.
All right. Any confrontations for you in the online scene? Anybody you've had a run in with or butted heads with over the years?
Um, I don't. I mean, I'm sure there have been instances here or there, but nothing that's not little and oh, I didn't appreciate being raced that hard. Like, and then you kind of just get over it by the end of
Mm-hmm.
the day. Um, so I don't think anything really worse than that. Usually, if there are people who are too disruptive to our main goal of we're here to have fun, usually they kind of just get kicked on their own anyway. So haven't really had any problems in the way of anything like that.
Right on. So I guess it's safe to say you have never intent wrecked another driver? It's kind of a popular question on the show.
Uh, do you count informal, uncompetitive leagues?
I mean, if it's
Ones
for
that
fun, it's not really. I wouldn't call it a serious intent wreck, but it's still a form, I guess. I mean, if it's a fun intent wreck, then that's just a fun intent wreck. But I was asking if you had any spicy ones.
no, I did one again. If you count it, because it was in Hornies is where it was, and
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
if you count that because that league was
That league
very
was for memes,
purposefully
right?
not serious. What's that?
That was the memes. All they what did they top out at 70?
Yeah, I think about 90 miles an hour. And of all places, probably the stupidest place to lose your temper of all places too. It's not something I'm proud of, but
Oh, let's hear it. Let's get this story rolling.
oh, it's embarrassing. It's like a
Oh,
total.
that's part of the questions. What's the dumbest thing you've done on track? So let's hear it.
I mean, again, if you count that, because it's a meme league where like the spirit of competition is very purposely thrown out the window by design. But I was going for the title in season one. Yeah, this is how embarrassing it was. I don't remember who accidentally wrecked me. Someone accidentally wrecked me in a totally honest mistake that wasn't dumb or bad, and I uh, caught up to the wrong car under yellow and intent wrecked him for doing absolutely nothing because I thought it was his fault.
That's a good one.
It was, oh boy, I have had few moments more embarrassing than that in an R. And
Cole Mather.
no, no, I'm sorry. Uh, for some reason, I'm super freaking sorry, Cole. Mather is just stuck on my mind for some reason, and I know it's not him. I'm drawing such a complete blank here, and now Cole's probably gonna hate me again. I was getting ready to say he was super cool for not really caring much about that and still being cool to me ever since. And now here I am blanking really freaking hard on his name. It's been so many years since I've raced Melon Car that a lot of the people who I raced with dozens of times their names are kind of I haven't seen them in long enough and I can't think of their Discord handle.
Or was it a different Cole from Melon Car?
Um no, it was the Cole from Melon Car and wow.
Cole Baker?
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Wow. Maybe that's why, because I was thinking Nick Baker and not Cole Baker, and I knew it
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
Nick.
So
I
Cole Baker was the one you accidentally drove into after in
yeah,
in, in Hardee's.
misaccusing him of doing something he didn't. But yeah, I think it's because I there are other Coles and there are other
There's a
Bakers, and
there's a couple of Coles around. There's Cole Rodriguez.
yeah, and then Seth Cole if you count the last name
Oh
too,
yeah,
I guess.
yeah. It can get
Um,
confusing.
but
I,
then there's multiple Bakers too, and for goodness sake, Cole, look, man, if you hate me after this, you have every right to. I'm really freaking sorry. I love you.
this is
And
Cole
I'm so
Mather we're abolishing to now, right?
no, it's Baker because I was
Oh,
trying to remember Cole Baker's name, and I don't blame me if you hate me for forgetting it for that many minutes in a row, man. I feel I'm t- every time I have a moment in this game, it's at your expense, and I'm really sorry. You don't deserve that.
it'd be like that. We all have people we're like magnetized to that we have incidents with. I used to have on track problems with Justin Malillo all the time at FTF for whatever reason.
Yeah, sometimes people who you happen to be about the same speed as, you spend a lot of time nearby, and sometimes they accidentally keep ending up on the receiving end of whenever you make
Yeah.
random errors.
The same thing with me and Cosman though. Cosman was typically faster than me on every occasion, and it would just be on like restarts or times where we were still early in a run that we would get together. But yeah, Cosman and I got into it quite a bit. Kind of funny. Cosman is the only driver or person, I guess you could say, because it is a game. But
uh,
Cosman's the only person that I have, I think, intent wrecked 3 times.
oh man.
3 times, two or three. That he's
Oh
definitely the
no.
only one. He's the only person who I have multiple intent wrecked multiple times, and he's the only person who's intent wrecked me multiple times back.
Oh
So,
no.
and somehow
Oh.
somehow through all of that stupid drama, we were still like semi cool. So
Well, I guess that's the most important part. But man, I didn't even know that because I raced a lot around Cosmin and not quite as much around you before he went to iRacing, but still.
oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was the one time that I've done that myself, and I think it was mostly because it was Hornets and all a meme. I was like, oh well, intent wrecking's not a big deal here. In fact, I think it was actually explicitly permitted by the rules. Like
Mhm.
I said, it was not a serious league. It was not
Yeah.
supposed to be. But I kind of used that as a really, really bad excuse to do it anyway, and then ended up with the biggest egg on my face. So don't really care if it's hornies or not. I don't intend to do that ever again. There's no, that's not something I want to do to anyone else. There's no point to it.
Right on. Yeah, I gotcha. What's a moment between myself and you that you can recall? I know we had quite a few good battles last year, and of course Talladega Melon Car a couple of years ago was a good finish.
Oh yeah, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. There have been a handful, and that was like the first one that came to mind. I know I'm using the word challenge very loosely because it's a plate race. But I think that was the first time I was ever within reach of you was the season three. Melon Car had 4 seasons. The season three race at Talladega. I just ended up in a perfect spot to absolutely slice through packs of dueling cars with absolutely no room to spare on the last lap, and I went from fifth to right behind you. And I'm like, holy crap, how'd I get here? Am I gonna win? But half a car length short, so that was fun by itself. And then the next season, I just cloned the finish. Did the exact same thing again.
Mhm.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to backtrack a little bit. I made a mistake. I only did that once. Um,
Yeah, I don't remember the second one. I
yeah,
just remember the one.
yeah. When I did that to you, that was season four. What I'm with, what my brain mixed up is that the year prior to that, I was also half a car length away from winning that same race,
Mm,
but it was Daniel Rodriguez who took the win that time.
okay, that's
Yeah, the
fine.
zero.
We like, hey, see, you might not have won as many races as me, but you're still mixing them up all the same.
At Talladega, at least. But yeah, that was a good one. Kansas last summer was really freaking fun. Um, it's just always a pleasure. This game doesn't get any better than when you have someone who you know will race you 100% every corner from start to finish, but you also know that they won't wreck you. It's
Oh
just,
yeah.
it doesn't get better than that. And Kansas was another example of that. We were right on top of each other at the line, and it didn't matter where I finished. I just had a lot of fun being up there. I think that's the only time I challenged you in open set. I don't know what happened that night, but
Yeah, it was
for
a
some reason I nailed it.
I remember you were using a VH2 base and I had
Mm.
actually um I used to use a setup from Jovan Anderson at Kansas, but so I was in the process
Ooh.
of having my own setups for all tracks for cup physics. So I had made a new setup and it
Mhm.
was tighter than it needed to be. Like I could have made it
Okay.
a lot looser. And I remember you telling me some of the things you had in the VH2 setup, and now that is like that has inspired a new Kansas setup, which I haven't had the chance to test yet, but I
Mhm.
think I ran like a 10 lap mock run with it. That's the same night or the day after or whatever, and I was like, oh yeah, like this is a lot better. Like I'll just run this next time. So
Nice.
but yeah, that was what kind of helped, even the playing field, like a track like a game track, the setup matters a ton because there's a ton of wear. Even if there's not a ton of grip loss, there's still a ton of wear. So if the right front
Oh
is
yeah,
wearing more than the right rear, it gets tight pretty quickly at the center of the corner. So
for sure. And those tire wear races are what I live for. I know they're common. It's not like they're rare, but um, yeah. As someone who was never particularly fast on outright speed, I learned pretty quickly that one of the fastest track ways to finishing better than I have the speed to is to see if I can maybe out tire or out fuel other cars. So I've spent a lot of years in at the back of the field just trying to see how hard I can take care of tires, and it's really fun whenever I get a chance to see if I can put that to use. Not that it always works, but it's something I enjoy trying anyway, even when I fail.
yeah, yeah, of course. So let's get to some of your race wins. What would you say is a win that means a lot to you?
Hmm. Oh boy. Well, there's a few of those, so I'm just trying to
Anyone
think
will
of.
do. You don't have to pick the biggest one. You could just pick one of the few that come to mind.
I can start with number one. I think it was my 42nd start in the game, about a year and a half into it. And it was the very last race for Studio Speed. They ended up kind of turning into SNG after that, but if you want to go by the name and the official structure of it, if you want to look at it that way, that was the Studio Speed's very last race. Um, that was at Pensacola. Um, that was the debut league for Cup 98 when Cosman first came out with that. So we had all of our throwbacks for that 10 race season. And the finale was at Pensacola, and I got pushed to the win by a myriad of my friends from from EFR, from Sinon's corner of the NR world, if you will. They just ended up behind me at various points of the race, and Nikki Conti eventually pushed me all the way to the flag. That was really, really special. Skipping all the way to that was in February of 2018. That's skipping all the way to 2023. I was in USORL for a pretty brief window. I found the place, thought it was awesome, and then they went to iRacing like a few months after I found it, so I wasn't there for long. But
Hmm.
I did their ARCA League for its final season and ended up pulling off a fuel mileage win at Michigan.
Oh, nice. I
It
didn't
was a
even know they had an ARCA league. I thought they just had the main Cup Open Setup League for NR.
yeah, and that's what caught my eye at first. I'm like, ooh, open setup, but they don't let you in until you prove that you're an okay driver in the lower leagues, so that's why I was in ARCA. But then they immediately went to iRacing, so I never got the chance to do open setup there.
Hmm.
Um, right, yeah, there was a 50 lap race at Michigan. It was no cautions, and I was the only car that made it to the end of lap 25 before running out of gas and pitting. Everyone else was lap 24, so I just clung on for dear life and was in fourth with two to go, and then third with one and a half, and then second at the white flag as everyone just kept running out and slowing down. And Zach Webster,
Oh yeah, my boy Webster.
yeah, he'd led most of the race, started to bog down out of turn four coming to the checkered flag, and I punched it.
Mhm.
Went high, he went high, went low, he went low, and I didn't want to crash into him, and I didn't know exactly how far low he would go, so I went as safe as I possibly could and plowed straight through the infield and shook the wheel until I came back up on the track and
Shook the
crossed the line
keys.
ahead of him.
Shook the
Yeah,
keys.
exactly. Hit the four and the six over and over again. Like, don't spin, don't spin, don't spin. And obviously, I only lost because he was sputtering on gas. He didn't have full power, but accidentally passed in the grass for the win in that race. That was a spectacle that I wasn't trying to do on purpose.
That's funny.
And again, it was only because of the fuel advantage. It wasn't because I was faster than him. He was definitely faster than me.
Hey, you take them how you get them.
Yeah, indeed. Um, and I'm trying. I was number 8. How about any of the ones since Wednesday? Wednesday was a really cool one. I was
What you
telling you
guys run?
Michigan's. What's that?
What were you guys running?
Atlanta 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was telling you earlier that Michigan's my favorite intermediate. Atlanta is kind of tied. It's ever since I was a little kid, I've adored the place. It's such a thrill, and it was where I made my first stock car start. I said that my first NR start was Formula 5, but the first stock car race was actually with Studio Speed, and they were at Atlanta. And Wednesday, I somehow and finally pulled off my first win there.
All right.
65, 65 lap race. We went green for the last 57, and we were just trying our darndest to see how fast we could go without cheese grating our tires into pulp, because
Yeah.
there was no way not to do that, and it was so much fun. Apollo Hyde was the leader for basically the entire race, but their tires wore at a slight imbalance to what they were prepared for, and it just kind of broke their handling just enough for me to sneak by at the end.
Mm.
And yeah, that was the amount of laps in a row I had to go without making a single mistake on a really loose and bumpy and slidey and tire shreddy track. And the fact that I actually pulled it off is just something that I'm proud of because I don't do that often. I don't have a lot of mistake-free races. It's not something within my talent range, so I was very very happy with that. That was a lot of fun and was raced clean by everyone else all the while. It was a really fun time.
Right on. Yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Here's a fun question for you, and you might need me to repeat this as we go, but no big deal. I'll repeat it if
Yeah,
I need to.
no worries.
So it's a four-part question,
All right.
and you can answer it in any order you like. So you don't have to answer it in the order I answer. If you want to go with the easier answer first and then expand into the bigger answers, you can do that.
Mhm.
So the question is, what is your favorite mod, favorite track, favorite league to race at, past or present, and
Mhm.
your favorite physics type?
Mod referring to online only or just available for the game?
Uh, for I would prefer for online,
Okay.
for league and physics, and then mod and track don't matter.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I guess that question would apply to track too. Mod is nostalgia driven. It's the '03 mod that SNG Cosmin made, which is one of their finest works in terms of build quality, so it is one of their best mods objectively, Splash and Goes. But I keep saying that '03 was the first year that I found NASCAR and found car racing, so that's where all my nostalgia lies. And seeing those cars be brought to life in as exquisite of a condition as Cosman can make mods for this game do is it's by far and away my favorite mod. It's the only one that I have ever made a car set for personal use. I take ages to paint cars, and that's not something I've ever thought I would do, but I made a blasted car set for it. I loved it so much.
Nice.
Never driven it online yet, though. Same with the track. I have yet to make an online start at my favorite racetrack in the blasted universe, um, IRP.
Oh, okay.
Ever since the PlayStation games as a kid, something about turning laps there just made me happy. And that translated all the same into the NR builds of the track. I could just drive on it in testing session all day long. And I'm really hoping that someone goes there one day. People have before in leagues that I've been in, but I keep being busy or out of town when they are, and it's kind of upsetting. So hopefully one day I'll get a chance to start there. Um,
Yeah, I got to race IRP last year. Truck mod, I think it was with Cup Physics. I
ooh.
think I think I won that race. I don't remember. I, I don't know if I ever told you, but I did win 100 races last year. So some of the small wins really kind of like blend together, and I'm like, was it that track or was it that track? I don't really remember without looking. So
Yeah, I can picture. I'm picturing right now that scene from SpongeBob where Patrick opens the closet and an avalanche of trophies just bury them. I feel like that's you.
yeah.
So it's understandable that they get blended. Uh, yeah, that one, Nazareth, and I are, or sorry, Irwindale have always been my favorites.
Oh, I
And
love Nazareth. I don't think I think I got to run it once online. I think FTF ran it once for their
ooh,
GNS series, but I have not. No one really uses that one either.
yeah, unfortunately, I've never raced there either. Just a couple starts at Irwindale, which were a ton of fun. And I'll drop this question in a moment. I know I'm overdoing it, but my favorite fictional is Windy City, or not Windy Cities, Race Car Central's Grand Detour Raceway.
Okay,
I
I,
don't know if that's one people remember. It's an old one.
I remember that one a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, just an insane. I don't know. It's like a Bristol cranked up to 11, and with a misshaped 3 and 4 too. Just such an insane track, and same story as the others. I could lap it all day. Um, uh, right.
League
Mod,
and physics.
track, league, and physics. So my home base is probably the favorite, just because that's where my longest time friends are. I said it was in a Cooper's server, and Cooper's part of NR. It was Formula 5 for the 18 seasons I ran it. And right after I showed up, they also introduced a second league named Short Oval Challenge, which is well, it's about exactly what it says on the tin. um, but they ran MCLM one year and then Pinty's the next once that
Oh,
came out,
nice.
and did short tracks with the occasional road course sprinkled in there. They'd usually be shorter, tighter ones too. Anyways, the people there are the best, and I love them dearly, and I've known them forever. So that's my favorite, even though they haven't run either of those leagues since,
Hmm.
um, let's see, 2018. It is, come to think of it, yeah, that was only 2 years that I got to race online with them. I'm glad I caught those last two, though. Nikki Conti, she's one of them, and she's been running a league of her own that's a hybrid offline online. Uh,
Okay.
it's like
Like a
it's
fun
like a
little career mode almost, kind of, maybe.
not really career mode, just
Okay.
basically running offline races that you can jump in and drive yourself if you feel like it. There's usually like 5 or 6 of us who race alongside all the AI cars every week there. I do that. Um, I've been doing that every week. I count those statistics as separate from online. Not
Mm-hmm.
not that they don't count. I just put them in a different category all day
Yeah.
long because it's it's kind of a different concept having it be mostly robots, and
Mm-hmm.
the robots score points for you on your behalf when you're not there and things like that. Anyway, that's a good time. But since um, but apart from those, I've really been enjoying my stay in fuel ever since I found it. There was a drought for ages where I couldn't find any open setup leagues, and even though they had good people and were fun, once I found one, I felt like I was right back at home, and I just love getting to fine tune the car and make it match the way I want it to feel, and see what the heck I can do with it, and where it ends up. So I've really enjoyed my tenure there ever since I showed up. They're a good group of people too. Um, they go to some unique tracks in addition to like the traditional Cup Series ones, and it's just a really good time. So long-winded way to answer that question too. Did I forget the last one?
Physics
Car
type.
or sorry, physics type. Thank you. Um, I don't know.
Got
That's a
a
good
preferred
question.
one out of the
Yeah,
four, or maybe a custom one, I guess.
yeah, yeah. No, that's a good question. I have so little working knowledge of these things and the differences between them that I don't really know offhand exactly how they feel differently. I know trucks is slower and tighter a little, but I don't know. For some reason I really struggle to perceive the differences between them, even though there are pretty stark differences. And I'm not sure if one really meshes with me more than the others. Um, I've won races on trucks, I've won races in Cup, and I don't know. I don't know when the last time GNS was. Short Oval Challenge. Okay, so I've won in that too. I've won in all three, despite having not won very many races at all. I've at least spread out between the three physics types.
Well, there's
And
four.
PTA, Formula 5.
Yeah.
Um, wow, my memory is. I told you my memory is terrible. Okay, the the small number of wins I have, all four physics types. So
There you
I
go.
don't know. I don't know if one is better than the other for me. I feel like I don't do better or worse between them.
Yeah, I have this is just me roughly remembering. I have 10
Hmm.
or 11 GNS wins just because
Hmm.
no one really runs it anymore.
Yeah, very few.
PTA, I got a few a couple years ago. There was one league that was running them, and then I had a road course league that was running them. So I have about the same amount of PTA wins as I do GNS. And
Nice.
then I have 75 or so CTS wins. And funny enough, there's a pretty even split between fixed setup and open setup wins in CTS for me, which is pretty cool.
Very, very nice.
And then Cup I have about 140, and those are mostly fixed setup.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Very impressive.
yeah, run a lot of Cup. A lot of Cup.
Naturally. Naturally. I guess that's what most leagues use.
Yeah. So you talked about the open setup league at Fuel being a good place to race.
Oh yeah.
Any particular chance you might consider racing at Bomb Squad one day? I think I heard you were potentially asked once. I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but
No, no. Yeah, it's something that I haven't I don't know if I've mentioned this already earlier when we were talking or not, so I'm sorry if we haven't. But anyway, I just haven't really set aside the time for that one. I'm in their Discord server. I just haven't really tried actually
mm-hmm.
making a start yet. Malin was telling me for a long time that they were really recommending it. So, you know,
It's
I,
fun.
I'll take
They're pretty
I'll take
laid
their
back.
word. Yeah, I'll take their word on anything like that. So I just haven't set aside the time for it because I kind of
It's tough too.
maxed my.
So the nights they run, right? So they run Wednesday nights their truck series, which is when Fuel GNS is.
Yeah.
Fridays their Xfinity series, which is recently now for like the last year GNS, which is that's when
Hmm.
Sportsman runs, and then
Hmm.
Thursday's the Cup series, which can be the hardest one because they run a lot of game tracks, and game tracks open setup, as you know, in Cup physics can get loose.
Ooh boy.
And then
Um,
that's on Thursdays, if I didn't say that.
yeah,
But
I
yeah, I get
honestly
it.
kind
I get it. It's tough to I myself am trying to like get down to one, maybe two nights a week for next year, just because I have
yeah,
other things I want to spend time on during the week after work and all that stuff. So I am enjoying one league for Mondays till the end of the year, and then as much as I love racing with those guys, I'm probably going to stop entirely just because I want to spend that night doing other stuff.
yeah, I gotcha. And that's exactly where I'm coming from. I mean, obviously, racing this game is one of my favorite things to do. It's why I've been doing it for so many years. But it is a task that requires energy, and for some reason, my limit is kind of around one race a week, which is pretty bad. But um, yeah, one or two. I usually have no trouble with two. Fuel usually has two leagues going on at any given time. But anything beyond that, uh, I really struggle with. Despite if energy wasn't a problem, I'd race like 10 times a week. but but with that in mind, yeah, my limit's kind of fuel's kind of taking up the limit all by itself, just because my limit's that low. I know that that's not normal. A lot of people in NR, like Dunn and others like that, you can find them racing darn near every night. It feels like, and kudos to them. I don't know how they do that, but it's yeah, that's about where my limit is. So
I feel like it's just
uh,
about different hobbies, you know. Like I've been spending nights running my mock thing now that I started up earlier this year. I used
mhm,
to do offline, of course, so a lot of my time was taken up by offline. I'm glad I don't do that anymore. But doing the mock is basically a form of doing offline anyway, except I don't have to worry about recording or commentating and making the video and uploading it. So it's
gotcha.
more relaxing. You know, you just plug in stats in after every race, and it's fun to just see how the drivers' trajectories go. And then
Yeah.
I have the few nights of the week that I'm racing online, and then what I keep pushing off is I want to get back into writing. I have Death Craver out.
Ah, yeah.
It'll be 3 years December since Death Craver's out, and it's like crap. Like I told myself I'd get the second one out within the next 5 years, and it's already been almost 3 years. What the hell am I doing? So I finished the first draft a year ago, and I just haven't gotten back to even rereading the thing to make notes. So I want to finish the 88 Cup season that I'm gonna
Mhm.
do for my mock, preferably within the next week, and then I'm going to kind of put the mock stuff on the back burner and get through reading my first draft so I can make notes. And then, as I said, the plan is to kind of dive back into writing, um, either in the fall, winter, or at the beginning of the next year. And as I said, one, maybe two nights a week. I think it will probably be two, just because one of the leagues I run is fast, and that's always Sunday. And Sunday's an easy race or easy night to race on because you
Mhm.
have the whole day off. Like for me, I work Monday through Friday, so I have the whole day off. So it's an easy night to say, yeah, I can race this night because I'll do everything during the day.
Okay.
And then during the week, just one night during the week, and that night will probably be Thursdays since for about 4 or 5 weeks now I've been back at Bomb Squad. So Thursday night will be my night
Nice.
over there.
Very nice. Good
But
arrangement.
but yeah, like I said, I totally get it. Like I don't last year from I think it was September and October last year, I was racing almost every night of the week because I was gunning for that 100 win total. There was a moment where I was like, "Nah, I don't really care too much," and then I was like, "Ah, who am I kidding? I want it." So I
Very
was
close.
I was racing everywhere I could, um, just to get it. And funnily enough, the 100th win came on like the first or second Sunday in December. So I was like, yeah, like I
Nice.
slowed down right when I got up to 100 because I knew once I got to 98 or 99, I was like, yeah, whatever the next road course is, I'll probably be all right. So
Oh, that's too funny. Comparing us, if you want to, you got halfway through December and hit number 100. My first win My first win of the year 2024 was on December 27th. Was my very last race of the calendar year, and managed to sneak one in then. Like I said, they're very few and far between for me. Everyone is bleh. The
Yeah.
fact that I'll never be able to reach 100 per year or 100 at all doesn't bother me. I'm here to have fun. I'm having a good time, and the fact
Yeah.
that I've got more than zero is actually really freaking cool. So I'm just having a good time.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Talking about wins for for some people rubs people the wrong way.
Nah, nah.
Hashtag team ego, if you catch my reference there. Um, but yeah, man, I mean, I'm glad that you're able to just come out and have the fun, because I'll tell you what, when you start winning too much is when anything less than a win uh feels like a waste of time. As
I
pessimistic
see.
as that sounds. Unless of course it is, and I only say that because most of the time that I don't win, it's because something silly or goofy happens. But if
Yeah.
if, if it's just straight up 1v1, then like, yeah, like I'm cool. Like, it was a great, it'll be a great battle. Like, I didn't get it, but it was a great battle, and then I'm still like semi happy. But if like something goofy happens, then I'm like cussing my brain out.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, I feel like we're all that way. I know I'm that way for sure. When the reason is just something completely ridiculous, it really freaking stings. And you just happen to be so fast that you don't lose a ton of races in the first place. So when you do, it usually happens to be something silly like that. But had a few of those myself. We all have, and yeah, it's just can be very annoying. But
Yeah, it happens.
yeah,
I've gotten very good this year though at, even if something goofy happens, like I go to bed and it's washed out of my brain. I'm not
yeah,
thinking about it past that night. So I've been a lot
yeah,
better about getting over it.
yeah. I think it's a good idea to let yourself be a little steamed in the immediate aftermath. Just
Yeah, don't bottle it up.
don't
Just let it
like don't
out.
yeah, exactly. And as soon as you blow off the steam, all right, on with my week. So that's a healthy way to go about it.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to do it.
I if said person listens to this, they'll feel called out, so I'm not going to mention them by name, but there was something that happened in Fast at Charlotte, and it really ticked me off in the moment because I probably had the race all but one, and it ruined my race. And I like put a message in the Discord the night of, and like I moved on. 6 days
Mhm.
later, said driver I was mad at, his buddy, and like at me on the Discord and was like calling me out for being an asshole. And I was like, man, it's been 6 days. Leave me alone. So that
No.
just set me off all the more. Like, man, you coming back at me 6 days later? Like, you didn't have all week. He's like, I'm sorry, I wasn't on Discord all week. I'm like, fair, but like, still, like, come on.
May- Maybe a DM or something. Ask what's up. I don't
Eh,
freaking know. That's
whatever. I honestly, fair game. If I My message was just trying to say like, oh, this is why like you messed up, but like they were calling me out for, the other party was calling me out for what they had heard through either Tyler's stream, Tyler Stallhood, or just from the person themselves. So, um,
mhm.
like, it is what it is. Like, whatever. That was already almost a month ago. So, but still, like,
Gotcha, gotcha.
don't call somebody out 6 days later. Like, if you're gonna do it, like, just get it over with. Just get it over with. Because then you make them feel silly, and you look silly because you're like just holding it for the whole week. Like, let it out.
Yeah, it's all that all sounds fair.
Okay, so have you been able to meet anybody from the community in real life at races or some such?
I mentioned that I've been to a handful of Indy 500s. All of those with a one Ike Durbin.
Hey, I
Ike
know.
is the coolest guy you'll ever meet in this community. Man's just got a heart made out of gold all the way through. He's such a great guy, and that's why he's my teammate at most places where we race. Um, been to the 500 with him. I think 3 of those years, Mike Rutana has managed to join us too. Another one of my best friends from NR. I mean, heck, they're both my best friends in general. They're really cool guys. The fact that we happen to live in adjacent states to each other was extremely convenient because it's not too hard for us to go to Indy and watch the big show. So
Nice.
um, I believe that's it. That's fewer than I realized. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
it was
suppose
cool. It
2 of
was
them, yeah.
sorry, I'm talking over you. Um,
No, no, you're good.
it was cool seeing Ike come over the fuel when I was still racing there because I had known Ike from Fuel Bandicoot Racing League offline. I had known
Mhm.
who Ike was for many, many years. So to see him
Yeah.
finally in an online lobby was cool. And then I was just like, man, I wish Noah was here to see this. But it was still cool to get to race with Ike, all the same.
Yeah, I remember I'd be showing him some replays, and I mean, years ago now, but he'd be like, "Whoa, Zach Rogers, I know him from the Fuel Bandicoot series." And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I was already familiar with that. But yeah, it's been a ball having him in Fuel too. Rich Roy is another one of our teammates. He's really new to NR. I think he only made his first start like 2 years ago, but he's picked it
Yeah.
up fast, and that guy's a joy to race with. Um, my other teammate, we've maxed out the maximum number of cars you could have there is 4. Um, Andrew Estrada, I know this wasn't your question, but he's a case of the other way around. That's my college roommate who didn't know a lick about car racing when I first met him, but we lived in Ann Arbor in an apartment for a couple of years together. Me, him, and another former college roommate of ours. And with all my racing on TV all the time, they just kind of kept poking their heads in the room as they were walking by, and eventually sat down. And um, I've accidentally gotten them completely freaking hooked into car racing.
All right. Yeah, let's go.
I didn't think that was possible my entire life. You know, when you're really little, all the other kids are like, "You're driving in circles. You're dumb." I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, "Okay, that's cool." Um, so my whole life, I've never really talked to people about car racing because my base assumption is they probably don't care. That's fine. But I accidentally got 2 of my best friends into this stuff real hard, and Andrew has now made 6 NR starts.
Nice.
The guy 6 starts. Sportsman Fuel Sportsman at Talladega a few weeks ago was his 6th NR race. The man was 3 seconds away from winning.
Oh wow.
Was absolutely insane. 6 NR starts in his entire life. The guy had the race locked. There was a
Is he
pack
on wheel?
wiping. What's that?
Do you have a wheel?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
What he actually got big into was Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
That's his home is the online GT3 racing scene from Gran Turismo. That's where he comes from. But yeah, he had that race won. There was a pack sweeping crash in the trial oval. That's the only reason he didn't. But he'll be back tonight for start number 7 at Michigan. So I am completely stoked.
Anyone can win at Michigan. You just gotta, the corners are practically the same. You just gotta avoid hitting the wall. Keep your speed up. It's low tire fall off, so you don't have to worry too much about the wear. Just really got to
Yeah,
keep that right front from overheating, and you're set.
yeah. One of his few starts previously was there, and it was the USRL or shoot, sorry, the USORL race that I pulled off on that fuel. He was running in third, and then his game crashed on him. That's the only reason he
Oh
didn't finish on the lead
man,
lap.
that
But
sucks.
while he was off the lead lap, I came out of the pits from our one pit stop that race. If you could forgive the tangent, I came out of the pits from our one pit stop, and I had totally freaking lost the draft. So I was like, I'm hosed. Like there goes the race. It's over now. And he happened to be right up there with them as a lapped car. He sort of hung back a little bit and fishing lined me with his draft and just got me sucked right back up with them. and then peeled off for his own pit stop. So he literally won me the race that day. I owe him big time
Nice.
for
Yeah,
that.
you got to give him one. You got to if I'm behind you at the end of this Michigan race, I ain't making the move.
Oh, yeah.
Or
Which
if
is what
I
I was trying. Which is what I was trying at Talladega. Nikki Conti, because she keeps coming up. Her and I were both his support behind him, but again, there was that last second wreck. But
I saw that Talladega wreck actually. Keon
uh,
Keon was showing me the replay one the day after or something. He was showing me all the hijinks from the end of that one, all
yeah,
the
that one
goofy
hurt.
stuff that went on in that race.
That hurt a lot. Just knowing that. I mean, it's a nice little consolation, taking away the knowledge that all right, well, you can officially win, and now that's proof. It just still stung to have it swept away from under him like that when it
Hmm.
wasn't his fault. But I mean, if that was race number 6, then by golly, I don't know how many more times he'll have to show up before he before he gets himself a trophy. He's fast. He doesn't need experience. He's fast, and with more experience will come more speed, as always.
Yeah. So going back to Ike, as you said, you would show
Uh,
replays, and I could be like, "Hey, I know that guy. That's Zach Rogers. He's in yada yada yada."
yeah.
Um, I randomly popped onto a Daniel Rodriguez Twitch stream like a month ago, and
Mhm.
so I have the same Twitch username as I do my YouTube because I made it a while ago. So
Uh-huh.
Bulldog Speed is my been my handle for almost like 8 or 9 years now.
Mhm.
I remember Zach Krastowski made the logo for me and stuff.
Oh, nice.
And but so I like just randomly like was like, "Hey, what's going on?" or "How's it going?" or whatever the heck I said. And there was some and I don't know if he watches or not, so take no offense. I already forgot your name, bro. There was some random dude and there was like, "Oh, hey, it's Zach Rogers." And I was like, I don't even recognize this guy's username and he knows who I am. That's crazy. But I've uploaded offline content for years. I had the hot lap videos I did, which I have I have a new Atlanta hot lap video to upload. We were doing a fun run at Atlanta for Bomb Squad last night, and I out of
Mhm.
nowhere pulled off my best lap by about 35 hundredths of a second. I went from I think it's a 28 186 and I ran a 28 151 and I was like, "Man, I knew that lap felt good, but golly, like I didn't think I was going to set a new PB." So it won't have the overlay or anything, but I'm just going to record it from cockpit camera and probably do a angle of roof camera too, since that's what I used when I actually ran the lap. So
Nice.
I
Wow.
might try to line up like a split screen for that or something. I don't know. I've been wanting to do like a split screen video, so we'll see if I might try that. But yeah, so I have a new Atlanta lap to upload. It's still not top 3 for the speed run site because all those Atlanta laps are with all the fuel out of the car. I haven't done any of those. I was gonna maybe get around to those this year, but I just haven't felt like it. So I
Fair
might
enough. Fair
might do
enough.
that. Might do that sometime and see if I can't knock all the PBs off the top of the board on the speedrun website or not. I feel like I
Mm,
could, but eh.
I feel like it could. 28-1 is a wizard
Well,
lap.
so Apollo has the record. They have the Atlanta record right now on the speedrun
Oh, okay.
website, and it's like a 27.8 or something ridiculous. They
They
said
did.
basically you take your like actual Q setup. You take all the fuel out of the car, and then you can just like throw the weight as far back as you can handle it and take all the wedge out, and then you just have to like adjust a few minor things, whether it's like spring or tire pressures or whatnot, and you're gold.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, they did win pole on Wednesday by 4/10 of a second.
yeah, yeah. So little tidbit I'll throw out here, since I've
Hmm.
got you here, and you're a full fuel guy. Obviously
Mhm.
there's been a lot of off and on drama with myself and Tyler Stallhood, but that has mostly died down. And as much as I loved the schedule for the current season of GNS, and I was gonna run that full time, um, in retrospect, I'm no longer interested in the league just because I feel like I would just win 9 out of 11 races every season, even with Apollo there. And like Apollo's great. They got a great knowledge of the car, and they have their unique controller style. But I just
Oh yeah.
personally am throwing it out there, like nothing to do with like me and Tyler are pretty much cool now. We're getting back to just being cool,
All right.
but I just don't. There's not a competitive reason for me to go back, and as much as it is for fun, like I don't think I'd have fun just kicking everybody's butts 9 weeks out of every season. So I think it's fine. The cast that are in there, they can push the beat in Apollo should be pretty easy. And Don, I'm calling you out. You gotta either start using somebody's setups or figure it out, because you shouldn't be losing every week. But I
Oh
love Dunn. I
yeah.
love Dunn, man.
Everyone loves Dunn. Just one of the man's a gem. Love racing the guy so much.
But yeah, there was I forget what track it was, but I like went and watched the stream, and I was like, "Oh, this is a track Dunn should win," and Dunn didn't win, and I was like, "What the hell? Why isn't he winning?"
Hmm.
And it's like, well, there was that one North Carolina race I ran earlier in the year, and I think I don't know, you could probably speak to more, and I'm sure I'll ask him Sunday, but I believe
Hmm.
he's just maybe trying to do it his own way and make his own setups. I know he got that Infineon win earlier in the year because he saved his tires, but
Hmm.
I know how good Dunn is, and if Dunn had a competitive setup under him, I feel like he would win half the races. So
I feel like he'd win probably more than
at
that.
least half, at least half.
Yeah, at minimum, he is nigh on untouchable on the road courses, and like almost as good on the ovals. That the wording of that sounded more negative than I meant for it to be.
Hmm.
He's a wizard on the oval tracks, and
No, he's
he's even
great.
better on the road courses. So the guy has more talent than than a human being would be expected to have. He's so
Yeah.
fast
And
and just such a nice person.
Dunn might argue against the points we're making here simply because, well, Zach, in fast, you've only lost to me once, and I kind of got lucky on that one. And it's like, well, yeah, but you've always been there anyway. Like any race that I've beaten him, he has majorly been there, unless he made a. Um, there have been two instances where he pit and he took fuel only, and I took tires, and we have the tire set limit at fast, but an extra set from compared to last year, so you can be more aggressive with taking tires. And there have been two times where he did fuel only, and then the whole race went green from there, so he kind of got bit on that one. Most recently, Mexico City, he lost second gear, which did him in by like
Oh,
a second a lap, which that was a shame. But I've won every road course this year in fast, though I've also had to fend off not just Dunn, but Jack Merkel ran one of the road courses we did, and he was really, really competitive. I got lucky. He made a mistake, and I was able to cross him over near the end of a race. But
nice.
I would love to win every road course at fast this year, but it's going to be tough because we've got Chicago coming up next after Atlanta, which I'm the defending two-time defending winner. I've won both Chicago street races, so I feel really good about that one. Though I will have to put the
Nice.
practice in a little bit because it's not every week that your apex is a wall, and not just a rumble strip. There's a wall there. So I'll have to put in a tiny bit of practice, but I think after like 10 minutes, I'll have to lay out back down, and then we go to Sonoma the week after that. And I feel really good about Sonoma just because that's like probably my obviously like Watkins Glen. I've won at Sonoma a lot on the game. And then we have Watkins Glen later in the year. We have the Charlotte Roval. And we're also running Portland, which I've never raced Portland online. So when we get to that one, I'll have to probably practice that for an hour a day or two before, just to get the layout figured out.
Nice. Yeah, that'll be fun.
But yeah, Dunn's great. Dunn keeps kicking himself a little bit on Sundays because he hasn't like beaten me head up yet, but he'll get one soon. I mean, it's a matter of time. Like I said, he's pretty much like right behind me almost every week.
Oh yeah, guy's a threat no matter where he goes. So definitely coming.
All right, so I know time is a crunching here, so we'll get to our exit topic here really quickly, and it's essentially just
Uh-huh.
what other interests you have outside of motorsports, whether it's a type of music genre, movie franchise, TV show, maybe a YouTuber you like to watch, or like any other random hobby from anywhere from, collecting something to making something.
Yeah, I guess we'll roll through just the things that I keep coming back to with sort of hobby interest topics. I don't That's a weird combination of words. I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say, but um really really big into geography and history. Um just in general. Those were my major and minors respectively in college. Learning about all the various parts of the world and how they're different and why they're different and how they got to be that way and how we can apply things for, present day and future is just endlessly fascinating to me. The world's a huge place too, so there's always more to learn. So, those are the other things I'm into really big aside from car racing. And I've long always had really intense interest. Um, what do you call it? Casual but intense interest in astronomy, planetary science specifically. Always something I read a ton of books at the library about as a kid and still follow up with. And also the maritime world from Michigan. Spent a whole lot of camping trips on a whole lot of Great Lakes shorelines with all the lake freighters in sight and some harbors that they're in, and keeping up with the history and the design and the operations of shipping from from centuries past to present is something I take interest in too. Just random stuff like that. But um, if the answer is what other stuff am I into really big, I guess that's the list of things right there for the most part.
Right on. I got there's a guy at work that I randomly discovered is he's into astrology and looking up at the planets and the stars and all that stuff. So yeah, it's a really cool thing. My book is heavily science fiction to do with like other planets and stuff, and just like the not as much as I'm not really into other planets themselves, but like the idea of like, well, if you think about it, our law of physics here doesn't necessarily apply to other planets across the universe, the galaxies, the cosmos, whatnot. So
Mhm.
I have I've had a few planets that I've put in Death Craver where it was like nothing,
Ah,
nothing made sense to like our planet. Like one of the planets that ultimately, spoiler alert, gets terraformed and
ooh.
turned into an ice wasteland. Originally, so that planet had like lakes and rivers and stuff, and like the lake was
Mhm.
orange, and then like there would be two rivers meeting together or whatever, and one river was one color and one river was the other color, but for some reason they made a color they would not make here on Earth. So that was like kind of like a like, yeah, that makes sense because it's a different planet. Color laws don't mean crap on the other planets. I mean,
Yeah, the phi in sci-fi doesn't stand for nothing. Go hog wild with the imagination.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool. I guess my interest is more on the nonfiction side of astronomy, despite the
hmm
limitless possibilities. I mean, how many media franchises in existence are set in space?
We have Star Wars, we have Star Trek,
And then countless,
Alien, Predator,
yeah, and then countless other movies and books
oh,
from
all kinds of stuff.
big studios all the way down. So but yeah, planetary science and astronomy as a whole is just, I don't know. I keep using the same words, but it's really really fascinating to me. I love that stuff. I got a My family is super generous and awesome. They got me a little globe of Pluto for my birthday,
Ooh,
and I love this thing so much. It's so awesome. I could stare at this thing all day.
right on. Yeah, sounds great. Well, Vincenzo, thank you for joining me here tonight for the next episode of Who's That Driver. If you've got anybody you'd like to shout out, friends, family, the like, the floor is yours. Kind of like a post race interview almost.
Yeah, I suppose so. If anyone of these people, if anyone from EFR, from Cooper's realm. If any of you are tuning in, like I said earlier, you guys are the best. I love you all. Thank you for getting me into this game and for being such cool people. Thank you to everyone from SNG, who I kind of sort of got into NR with. There was a lot of overlap between them and Cooper's server, Cosmin, Panko, Baker, and a whole host of others. Everyone who I've raced with in the interim, everyone who I've raced with now, Tyler and Apollo for running things at Fuel over there, and everyone else who I have the pleasure to race with. Andrew and Cameron for bearing with me as I info dump all sorts of NR crap onto them without them asking. Yeah, it's a real pleasure to be able to, something as small as a little old sim racing game, but it's a pleasure to do something competitively with other people who are so fun to be around and so nice to each other, and it makes for a really fun time, and I'm really looking forward to tonight's race.
Right on. And
And thank you for hosting me. Thank you for having me on here and giving me a chance to share all this stuff. It's really fun to retrospect on a lot of things and just to chat in general. So appreciate you having me here, Zach.
yeah, absolutely, Vincenzo. And I'll just add quickly, since I'm thinking about it right now, you
Hmm.
mentioned, your favorite fictional track earlier. I've actually never even mentioned mine. But so I'll make it more so about road courses and tracks that may have been seen in the TMS or Cup Series, and or tracks that Sign On has, created
Yeah.
himself. So my one of my favorite road courses of all time, fictionally, is Booty Bamba. Love that
Yes.
track to death. I have never been able to get
Yes.
a good AI race out of it, but many others have. But I still love that track to death, and I've even tried racing on a little bit. Boy, is that track difficult. um, it is quite the hard road course to figure out, but ton of fun. And then for
Mm.
Sign On, particularly the track that I found worked with my rating set the best was Provo, set in Utah.
Ooh, yeah, that
Um,
one.
so that one was my favorite to go to. And I forget, though, I don't know if I made a change and goofed something up, but I always had a problem with one or two of the pit stalls. I don't exactly remember, but I loved going to that track for, I think, three or 4 years. I used it in my Cup Series for offline. So very fun
Nice.
racetrack.
Oh yeah. We had one Formula 5 race there and I destroyed myself and was really upset because it's a fun track. I was looking forward to it. But yeah, it's a really good one.
Oh, and Steelback Stadium's cool too. Like that one.
Yeah, yeah, I've gotten to race there um at least once too, once or twice. But yeah, everything they do is their tracks are kind of on another level. They push this game to its limits, and it's really cool to see all the things that they've been able to gift us with to enjoy.
Right on. Well, thanks again, Vincenzo, for your time, and thanks everybody for listening to this week's episode of Who's That Driver, episode 16. Next week, boy, I got to figure out who the heck to ask to come on. But I'm sure I'll think of somebody. I still got a pretty good list here. And yeah, thank y'all for listening. Vincenzo will find out now here as I sign off, but this episode was promptly named after his Discord username. So hence the Talladega Nights reference. So thank
Oh
you.
man.
Thank you, Vincenzo, for your username being Macchiato. I meant to ask you. Actually, yeah. Let's just answer the question really quickly. Why is your Discord username Macchiato?
Fochesato.
Oh, it's just because it rhymes.
Just a little bit of alliteration.
No,
That's
okay.
not the right word, but whatever the linguistic term is.
Well, I guess maybe I should say you have spilled my Fochesato.
Maybe I'll name one after me one day or something. I don't know.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us. Thanks again. Bye.